I'm Darnella Wilson. I am 66 years old. What else you want to know? I graduated high school when I was 17, and my sister had a best friend whose name was Walt Brown. And he's come over our house every day and stuff, and play with the kids and stuff. And I just graduated high school, so I was laying on my sister's couch, not bothering nobody. Graduation was over. It was so lovely. And he came in the room and he says, "Well, you know what? I think you need a job." And I'm like, no, you really got to be kidding me. I went through all this schooling and all that stuff. I don't want no job. I'm chilling. I told my sister, you need to get him out your house because he is not messing with me in this couch. I'm looking at her and I'm like, this is really unbelievable. So she looks at me and she says, "Well, they started this program, and you'll see if you really want to get into medicine or not. This is it's a program, it's something new." And he explained it to me and stuff, and it's like, no, 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 I'm still not getting off this couch. So anyway, he took me to work with him, and I met the dispatchers, I met the paramedics and stuff, and I was sort of like hiding behind him, like, I don't know these people. I was like, no, no, I'm not going out in front of you. And he grabbed me by my shirt and he pulled me out front. He said, "Okay, this is Ruth. This is," and I'm like, "Hi, hi," because you got to remember, I'm still just a kid. And yeah, and everybody was really nice. I met Mitch Brown, who was the director of Freedom House at that time, and it was like, oh, you know what? I hope this is going to be okay. So I went home after my first little day's work, and I had all these papers to remember, like the 10 codes, the 1069, 1097, to work the radio and stuff like that. I said, oh, well, maybe this is not that bad. Me being the youngest person there, they would come there and they would uh, tell me scary stories about what was going on the vehicles and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's not real. You can't tell me that stuff. You know what I mean? But they would tell me some horrible stories and stuff. But I think they knew that just to get my goat or whatever because they knew I was so young. It was just such a cool beginning for me. I'll never forget it. I can't ever forget it. Let's see. I would get picked up in the mornings by somebody, whether it be Walt Brown or whether it be James Kite. Somebody from the north side was going to Freedom House or whatever, and I always had a ride. It was lovely, you know what I mean. And I'd get there, in the mornings. We would take over from the night shift. Do you know what I mean? Which really wasn't that much or whatever, because once the call was over, it was over. Do you know what I mean? And we would do little reports and stuff for them, but there was never no paperwork left over or anything like that. And and then the morning began, it was just like, you know what I mean? If it was calm, if it was like slow or whatever, we all just sat around and we talked. And then, like I said, the different ambulances would come in, and the ER nurses would come over and they would sit over and talk. So it was just like a big family type thing, you know what I mean? Till call came in, and it was like, okay, so now we got to go to work. just happened to work a night shift. Um, the one night shift I worked with David Razor. He was the crew chief on the night turn. And I had my little blanket over me. And by that time I had caught on and stuff. And I was, doing the 1096, 1097, and, stuff. And, um, and I looked over uh, at, in the dispatch and I saw this white woman laying on a cot. And I'm like, well, nobody told me about this. I don't know what this is about. And I went and, everybody in the night shift was asleep. Of course, I had to stay up and answer the radio. And I hit Dave Ray's and I said, there's a white lady on the cot. I said, she's not a recessive Annie, is she? Because they were teaching me like little stuff or whatever. He said, no, that's Dr. Caroline. So I went over. She was laying down and I looked down at her and I touched her just to make sure she was alive. And she said, excuse me. I was like, oh, okay. You you're alive. And she said, you must be the new dispatcher. She says, I don't want to be disturbed while I'm sleeping right now. And just when something comes in, you just wake me up and I'm off with the paramedics. And I'm like, okay, lady. Okay, I'm going right back over here to the dispatch. But she was so cool, though. It was like so funny because she was smiling the whole time. You know what I mean? That I was looking at her, looking down at her, and she's looking up at me. And she said, okay, it's time for me to go back to sleep. I said, okay. So the night went okay. And then there was a really bad call and well, I tell you what, she jumped off that cot like it was nothing. I looked at Razor. I said, "She really is alive." Oh my God, it was a nightmare for me. I mean, it was when we found out that things were going downhill and we weren't going to be doing that anymore and stuff. And I was well, me still being a kid, it was a really upset for me. And I was like, wait a minute, this can't be done already, because I had a horrifying experience changing over from that over to them. And I ended up, after a while, I had to get an attorney because things were just really going bad. And, even when we went to the city, me, Ruth, Pearl, Addie didn't go. I'm sure she's glad she didn't. But Pearl and Addie were already EMTs. So me and Ruth weren't EMTs. So we had to go through the EMT class because, well, you can't be a dispatcher unless you're an EMT. Okay, well, we'll go through your EMT class or whatever. And Mm, that was pretty bad too. They weren't nice to us at all. It was like we walked in and we had a FHE on our forehead. You know what I mean? And yeah, so Ruth and I, went through the class or whatever, and then after that, we was still not allowed to um ride the vans or ride the trucks or anything. We had to go down to the police dispatch where we had to fill out. It was funny though. We had a good time, even though it wasn't funny. But we would fill out these little cards, and we would send them up on a conveyor belt, and then they would be stamped with times or whatever, and then they would go to the back room or whatever. But the scary part for me was sometimes, I would come to work. Um, thinking that I'm just going to be, doing a little dispatch job or whatever. And I come to work and I'm being tapped on my shoulder and said, oh, Well, we don't have a turnkey today. Well, I don't know what a turnkey is. You know what I mean? What the heck is a turnkey? Well, we're going to take you down in the basement, and this is where, we hold people. I'm like, what, for jail? I'm like, no, no. What I'm going down there for? Well, because, this is your shift, and you have to go down there if you want to be paid. That was the most scariest crap I had ever been through in my life. I cried every day. Every day I had to go down there. You know what I mean? I didn't sign up to be locking nobody up in jail or anything. Whose idea is this? Would go to Glenn Cannon's office every day and tell him this was not what I signed up for. So why am I still here? Well, you gotta stay there or whatever until we find a position. Okay, you should have been found a position for me. I come from Freedom House. It was written up in the newspapers that, we were coming here to, become paramedics and finish the programs that we had started and stuff. I'm like, why am I here? Oh boy, and then it got butt ugly. You know what I mean? Because I told him, I said, you know what, this is not right. And I had to end up getting a lawyer, and I remember his name. His name was Caputo, and I told him, and I ran that whole scenario down to him, and he's like, look, if you don't do what you said you was going to do for this woman, then we got to go to court. You know what I mean? And they still sent me through all kind of craziness. I had to go, after I did pass the course or whatever. He still made me go back to school with the third class. Now I'm at the second class, but I was supposed to be in the first class, but I didn't get the same rights as everybody else in the first class, because it was like, okay, well, you're gonna go and you're gonna work on the trucks, but we're not going to give you time to go to school like they gave the white people time to go to school. And of course I failed, but I had 30 days to make it up, and I did. And I did. I made those 30 days the most miraculous days of my life. You know what I mean? Especially with the help of Walt Brown. And that still wasn't enough. It was like, oh, well, you're not no, none of the docs have signed off on you. So now we want you to go to class with the third school. And I'm the third class, and I'm like, well, I have my badge, I have, all this stuff. Why do I have to go back there? Well, this will make sure that we're sure that I'm like, really? I went, I went like a dummy. I went back. Boy, the racism was really, really bad, and I got the brunt end of it. It wasn't nice. I got sent home for wearing braids. Well, you can't wear braids here because this is like the white women wearing hair rollers, and oh no, I think not. I think not. But I went home. I was just a kid, so they took my money. We could be sitting there with, sunglasses on. Oh, well, those aren't work related sunglasses, so you got to go home. It's like, but it's sunny outside. What? Well, those are the ones where we can't see your eyes or any. Oh, what? Really? Yeah, they were nasty. They were nasty. To treat a group of people, like that. I don't care if it's your skin color or whatever. I mean, these guys, we came from all walks of life. You know what I mean? And we did the damn thing. That from the dispatch. all the way down to the patient care. And you mean to tell me you all don't care? You know that that they that we absolutely did this, and now you're gonna take over, and we can't. We don't have a light of day, and we don't have nothing to say. I just had so much fun being a kid there because I'm silly. Do you know what I mean? And when they would tell me those gross stories, I would be like, get out, get out. I'm telling the boss. I'm telling the boss. You know what I mean? But my greatest achievement was I got off the couch. Do you know what I mean? I got off the couch and I went to see what it was about, and that was like I still have my first pay stub from because I was so happy working there and stuff. But I got off the couch and I went on to do amazing things from there. So I am not mad. You know what I mean? So